Hey, how you doing? Once again, we are back as promised because I know you missed me and you may have even missed me more if you didn't check out the last video, which was on the medical plans. But if you're just here because you're checking out some of the ancillary benefits, no problem. I am definitely not mad at you. I just want to make sure that you've got some good information for 2020. As you know, it's always good to go in and take a look at your benefits, either for cost or because maybe you want to add somebody onto your plan that wasn't there before. Um, these are all good reasons to go in and double check and see what's going on, for the 2020 year. It's been a little bit strange this year. I can honestly tell you that I'm going to go and talk about dental plans, but the truth is you may not have wanted to step inside the dental office, so far this year just because of everything that's gone on. But if you're getting prepared to go and do some of that work, just keep in mind that this is your opportunity to switch your plan. Maybe you had an HMO and now you want to go to a PPO. These are the types of things that can be accomplished. We talked about that with the medical, but now we're going to go on and talk about that for all the other benefits and see some of the things that you can do this year. So I'm not really going to go over going through the profile or dependents, but just know that if you want to see the cost for any of those dependents, whether it be a spouse, whether it be a child, you do have to add them in or they will not show up here and you will not even be able to add them. So even if you just want to check the cost, don't worry. You can always waive a dependent. That's no big deal. This is during open enrollment. So if for some reason you don't like your significant other anymore and you want to take them off the plan, no problem. Absolutely doable. But they may not like you either after you do that. So think about what you're doing for this year and let's just make some good choices. And let's get into some of what's going on. So the plans are still with Guardian. All right, you have some good dental, vision, disability, life, hospital confinement, and voluntary life plans. So let's talk a little bit about each one, and hopefully this will answer a few of your questions and get you going. But as I said in the last video, don't worry, we have not moved to another planet. Even though we are working remotely, our telephone numbers are exactly the same. It is 818-883-3282, and we are here to help you. Unfortunately, we can't be here, 24 hours a day, but most certainly we will get back to you as soon as possible and make sure that we get you covered and make sure that, we can answer your question. So let's take a look at what you've got for dental. I've included a little video, and what will be updated by the time you actually go into the portal, hopefully, is an additional video, this one that you're listening to right now. So that will be in the portal as well, just to kind of get you, underway. You can see right here, these are showing the dependents that, are in the system. Chuck Zest and his spouse, Stacy Zest. Now, this doesn't resemble anybody in your company. Like I said in the last video, you may have heard of Chuck Best, but Chuck Zest and Chuck Best, these are not the same people. You might have think that you have seen them walking down the street and you said, hey, was that Chuck Zest? I don't know who Chuck Zest is. That's a made-up person, for this particular online, portal that we are doing right now. Now, Chuck Best, on the other hand, you may have been walking down the street and you may have seen him, and that would have been your insurance broker, one of the other ones, right? I'm Jonathan Rudnick, and most of the time people will have conversations with me, and they'll say, "Hey, it was really good to talk to you," and they'll say, "Hey, bye, Chuck." No, my name is actually Jonathan, but there is a Chuck that exists, but he's just not Chuck Zest. All right. So sorry for digressing, but let's just get into what we got going on here. So you have a couple options here, and at first they may seem a little confusing. You have an HMO option and you have two PPO options. Now this hasn't changed from previous years, but your reason for being in one of the plans to another plan might have changed. Maybe you felt that the HMO was restrictive last year. Under the HMO plan, you do have to go to a particular provider. Now you choose that provider. You choose from one of the 5,000 to 6,000 dentists that they have in the state of California, and hopefully somebody that is close to you and close by to where you either live or work, and you go to that person for all their care, all your care. And in return for that, they will actually give you this copay schedule. Now I'm going to bring this up really quick. We provide this to you because this is actually your holy grail of insurance coverage for dental under the HMO. It lists all the different codes here that refer to all the different services covered under your plan. So that's why I thought this is a really good refresher. So if you see something, right, and you wanted to know what is a D0120, and that's a periodic oral examination, that costs you $0. To go visit the dentist does cost you $5, but these other things that are actually more expensive, right, do not cost you. As you go down the list, all of the normal stuff is going to be listed in here. If you see a prophylaxis for an adult, right, that's going to be a cleaning. You get one every 6 months, right, covered in full, right? For children, once every 6 months, covered in full, right? Another common thing is, what if you needed a one-surface amalgam, otherwise known as a filling? That's a D2140, right? You can see under this plan it's $8, right? That's a pretty good savings because most of the time, even the cheapest fillings, work out to be $50 or $75, just depending on where it is that you go. So you know that you can save a lot of money by going on this plan, all right? But the one thing that I want you to keep in mind is a lot of time you will be sitting down there with the dentist and they could come back to you and say, hey, you know what, Chelsea? You know what, Sheila? You know what, Jonathan? Um, I think that the total amount of work that you have to be here is kind of major, and we think it's going to be about $750. And you're saying to yourself, what do you mean, Doc? I just want you to fix what the problem is, and it sounds like it's only going to be $8 for this filling, and you think that you have it set straight because you have this with you. And believe me, it's good to have this with you. Make sure that you have this with you. But before you get any real major amount of work done, anything over $300, I would start matching up these codes to what they should give you, right, as like a summary, right, of all the different things that they want to do. And that way you can figure out, and I'm not going to say keep them honest, but just make sure that nothing's being changed from what you agreed upon when you went to get this evaluation. A lot of times my biggest complaint that I get is that employees will come back and say, oh, I spent $700. I thought it was going to be, $15, $20. And the problem is that because they didn't go ahead and get this summary ahead of time, right, we're not able to help them out because they've already had the work done. But a lot of times also, the dentist might recommend something that's not on this list. And then you have to make a decision. Does this sound right? Do I only want what's on this list? Right? There are some times where the plan will only pay for a silver filling, but you want a composite filling, one that's white, or maybe you need a crown that's gold. I mean, there are all these different instances where the dentist might recommend something that he feels or she feels is better, right, than what's being offered here. And so when they switch the materials, that's going to cost you more most of the time. So get one of these summaries, ahead of time, know what it's going to be before you say yes. And then that way it will lessen the opportunity that you'll walk out of there with a bill that you have no idea where it came from. Okay, but it is the biggest complaint that I get about dental in general is like, I can't believe it costs that much. So if you do this, I'm hoping that it will save you some anguish, some time and some energy while you get this, worked out. The other thing to keep in mind is, yes, you do have to pick a primary care dentist. You didn't have to wait till now to change them. So if you've had your HMO dentist, but you really wanted to go see a different one, you can do that at any point throughout the year. Just give the insurance company enough notice so that they can switch them for the next year. I usually recommend calling in before the 16th of the month to give them enough time to actually switch you over to the new dentist for the following month. So keep that in perspective. So you're not stuck with the same dentist for the rest of your life. And you don't even need a good reason to go to somebody else. You can just tell them you really just don't like that dentist and you are out there. You are out and on to the new dentist. The other thing to keep in mind is that the HMO has no limit. No matter how many copays or all these different ideas that you do here, different things that come up, you could have 10 fillings, and I really hope you don't have 10 fillings. But if you needed 10 fillings, you could get an unlimited amount of work done. It never runs out. All right, so keep that in mind because I'm going to contrast that with what we are going to talk about right now, which is the PPO. So if I flip back over here, and I'm going to go look at the PPO, Let me explain something really quick. This looks like we made an error. You have two plans with the same exact premium, and you're saying to yourself, Jonathan, you must be nuts. These both say the same premium. They must be the same plan. They are not the same plan. They have the same premium as a benefit to you. You know, when we discussed this with your employer, we wanted to come up with something that made a little bit more sense, but also speak to the needs of different people. Just like different medical plans are going to be for different people, I don't think that there's a one size fits all. And that's why there is this kind of triple option. HMO for the people who need a low cost plan. And then there are two different levels of PPO. NAP stands for Network Access Plan, and Value just stands for Value Plan. Now, the Network Access Plan is really for people that want to go see dentists that are outside the network of Guardian. It gives you a little bit more coverage for that, because normally certain plans just have a list of costs, and they would just say, here's our low list of costs. Doesn't really help you all that much when you go out of network, because it's giving that dentist a lower level of reimbursement, which means that you will be out of pocket more money. Whereas if we're thinking about the Guardian Value Plan, the Guardian Value Plan gives you a lot of benefit, but primarily when you're going to an in-network dentist. There is something to be said for going to a dentist where there is a contract. That is how the insurance company is protecting you. And you better believe they really are protecting you, because they have gone ahead and negotiated all these contracts ahead of time. And dental is one of those things where the costs can quickly get out of control. So if you can find a dentist that's in network, or your dentist is in network, that's awesome, that's great. But you always have that opportunity to go out of network if you need to. Just keep that in mind. The provider search for this will help you figure out very quickly, where the dentist is at, and it's new and improved. They made it super easy. I'm going to click on this before I get into plans, just so you see how it's working. Once you go to the Guardian website, they've changed it. You used to have to go in through a whole bunch of different menus. Now you can just go right in here, put in the location, put in the name, right? It gets you right there, and you click between HMO and PPO. It's awesome. I think they did a really great job with this. You can also do your stuff with the app, and we'll also find people by proximity, on your app. So that's more than one way for you to do it. It will also keep a copy of your ID card on that app, so you don't have to worry about having your real ID card. But if you've lost your card or you need a new one, don't worry. You can reach out to us anyways, and we can get you a copy of it and get it sent over by email. That's something that we have access to on the Guardian website. So let me click back over here, and now let's get into the nitty gritty. I know this is going to come up sideways, so I apologize for that. Just give me 1 second, because I actually should have already put this over here. Let's see, that is for vision. Let me download the one for dental. Just give me 1 second. All right, once that comes up in a second, all right, I will go ahead and make the switch so that we can rotate this. The bane of my existence is things that show up sideways, but this is actually the way that the old kits would get printed. So when you're printing on a piece of paper, it makes much more sense, but who needs paper anymore? I mean, who wants to let go of trees for, no reason? So while we're doing our part to stay green, here is your comparison, on your desktop. All right, so what you see here is a layout of the 3 different options. I've highlighted a couple things here because I wanted to make it apparent what the difference is between plan versus the other plan. So right off the bat, let's look at a couple things here. There is no deductible under the HMO, but there is a $50 deductible under the PPOs. Number one, big difference there. Now, is the deductible going to come into play when you want to go get preventative care done? Nope, it is not. So that is very cool. Keep in mind that if you need to go and just get your teeth cleaned twice a year, all right, you're not worried about this deductible. So get that out of the way. All right, so that's awesome. All right, now let's take another look at some other things here. Where is the deductible going to come into play then under the PPO? Normally the deductible will come into play. Every once in a while they will do this under out of network, even for preventative care, but in our scenario, it looks like they have it set up that your deductible is going to come up under basic or major care. And so the option that we're talking about right now is I'm talking about value. So V for value. That's option 3. Under value, right, your coverage is all broken down, not by copays, that's an HMO term, copays. It is actually broken down by coinsurance. So preventative care covered at 100%, okay? Basic care covered at 100%, all right? You may not have heard of this before, but this company is actually covering you for 100% of basic care. And if you thought that was just for fillings, just hold on. I'm going to show you what that's about in a second. Major care is covered at 60%. Okay, well, if you're lost, don't worry. I'm going to show you in 1 second what that refers to. But before I get there, let's look at one or two things, and then we'll roll to the next page. You do have an maximal annual benefit. It is $1,500. So let's think about what that means. In January, if you were on the PPO, that $1,500 reset and you got a new $1,500. $1,500 just for you and not for your family members? No, $1,500 for each person under the plan. So you get $1,500 and your dependent gets $1,500 and your spouse gets $1,500. So those are all separate things. I'm going to get back to roll over in a minute here. Let's go over here. Let's flip to the second page. You were thinking like, hey, yeah, we get 100% coverage for basic care, but that probably covers nothing. Well, I'm sorry to say that you're wrong. Under this particular plan with Guardian and for the last few years, right, fillings, yes, are part of basic care, but so are root canals. And so are scaling and root planing, which is another name for what? Deep cleaning. Yes, that ugly word, deep cleaning, covered at 100%. So deep cleanings can be anywhere from $450 to $600, right? Covered at 100%. Now you will have to pay your one time a year $50 deductible. So if you've already paid that this year, it's gone, it's out of there, right? And there's 3 of those per family. So you might have one and one of your kids could have one, right? Keep that in mind. So if you wonder why, you paid one and you're like, oh, I paid one, it was for everybody. Nope, there is one for you and one for 2 other people in the family. All right, so this is huge though, okay? Because that deep cleaning from a PPO dentist could be as high as $600, to get that paid at 100%, awesome. Remember, that's coming off of your bucket of money. You only got $1,500 to spend, and then the insurance company taps out and says, oh, I can't take any more for this year. You're gonna have to wait till next year, right? So that $600 comes off the top and you might only be left with $900 for the year. So keep that in mind, but it was covered at 100%. Now what's covered at 60% or in the major services category? All right, bridges and dentures, dental implants, which are super expensive. So these things are going to get covered at 60%. You're going to pay 40% of the bill, right? Crowns, also there, another big ticket item. Guess what happens when you get a root canal? Ding, 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 person in the back. Yes, you are going to get a crown after you get a root canal. I wish it wasn't that way, but that is the way that it goes. All right, and you will pay 40% of that crown. All right, so I know that's not going to answer every question, but I think that gets you in there pretty good. Now let's just flip over to option number 2, which is the NAP plan. Everything looks very similar, but it's not. All right, once you get down to basic care, right, you now drop down to 80% coverage, right? And this is for in-network, right? When you drop down to major care, you drop down to 50%. So you're losing a little bit here, right? By just thinking that you're going to go to this out-of-network dentist. So this is why I would think about this very carefully. If you are going to go to an in-network dentist, you need to be on the value PPO. If you are going to an out-of-network dentist, you're going to want to go on the NAP. And so here's where the numbers actually make more difference. Now you can't see any of this because it's hidden under some of the insurance company jargon that you may not understand, okay? But at the end of the day, right, the coverage, when you go out of network under this plan right here, under option 2, let me see if it shows you up here. Let's see where it is. Normally they list it, but like I said, see, it's lost in some of the jargon, and that doesn't help you, okay? They're covering you at a higher level when you go out of network. So while you do see the 80% here, what the insurance company is actually doing It is actually looking at a sampling of dentists in that area where you're going. Maybe you're going Beverly Hills, maybe you're going Santa Monica, right? Maybe you're even in Woodland Hills, because Woodland Hills isn't cheap anymore, right? And it is going to give you a higher fee to give back to that dentist, which just means that you'll have less out of pocket. Even though this says 80% here, you really have to think 80% of what, right? 100% of what if you were on the value plan, right? So if you're getting 100% of 50 bucks, but if you were actually on the network access plan and they bump that up even, higher to this out of network dentist, that is where you're getting the kicker. That is where it's saving you money. And so that is why the plans differ. So like I said, just be careful. Go on the value plan if your dentist is in network. Go on the network access plan if your dentist is out of network. Make that switch this year if you need to do it. Like I said, I always feel like it's better to get the value of a contracted provider. That helps you out tremendously when you're thinking about things. All right, so let's see if we can snap back here. Just give me 1 second. All right, so that should sum up the differences between those three plans. But like I said, keep things in mind when you're trying to do things for this year, because you may want to make some different decisions that you did not make last year. I'm going to pull this up for 1 more minute, because I did promise you I was going to talk about one other thing, and I almost lied to you. And I didn't want to lie to you, so let's go over this one other thing. The HMO has no rollover benefit, all right? And that's because it has, all copays. But the PPOs do. So you might be sitting there and say to yourself, hey, I love these PPOs, but I just don't do them all that much. I just don't go all that much. I may go for 2 cleanings and get a filling, and that's about it. I may even get a deep cleaning, right? If you spend less than $700 in a year, which is called their threshold, they are going to roll over a certain amount of money into your account. And now the reason why I say certain is that it could be between $350 to $500. It just depends whether you go in network or not. If you stay in network, they will roll over as much as $500 into that account. And that means rather than just having $1,500 right in your account, you now have extra money for that really bad year where maybe you bit down on some peanuts or different things like that, and you broke a crown that you had, and now this is the worst year ever. And you know what? Now you got to get all that stuff repaired, right? You don't want to lose the tooth. You got to get this work done, right? So now all of a sudden you could be sitting there, after you've been on this plan for a few years, with $1,250 in another account, okay? And that means rather than having $1,500, you have $2,750. So that's super awesome. I think that's important. Not a lot of other plans do that or don't let you know about that. And some of your benefits just go away. So this was something that the few insurance companies thought up. And Guardian's just been one that's upheld this. So when you log into your Guardian account, check and see if you have this rollover money. Now, I will tell you this one thing. It does require you to do one service. So definitely do your cleaning, or they will get rid of some of that money for you, okay? But you got to do one service a year to make sure that you keep those benefits, all right? So rush out there at some point this year when it's safe, just to make sure that that will work for you if you are a underutilizer, okay? Super important. All right, so let's get back to it. So that was just the dental, and it's one of those things that's a little bit longer to go over, so I apologize if I was long-winded about that. When we go to the next thing and we talk about vision, right? Vision's a pretty simple plan, right? Most vision plans are divided up, number one, by who's the provider's network that you're going to use. In this case, even though it is Guardian, guess what? You are using VSP's network. All right, that's important, because once you've signed up with this plan and it goes into effect, right, you're going to be in the VSP system. So if you go to a VSP optometrist, right, they're going to be able to check and see that you're enrolled in their benefits, and they're going to be able to see exactly what your benefits are. So that's a plus. The other thing is that VSP is the largest network of independent optometrists across the nation. So that's another good benefit of signing up with this, plus all the discounts. Now, if you're just going in there for a vision exam, you may say, hey, is this worth it? I could tell you, you're probably trading money at that point, just for the vision exam. But at that point where you find out that you actually need a prescription or something like that, that is where this comes in handy. So let's just click on some of these benefits, see what's going on. As I told you, it is on its side, so I'm going to flip back over to my PDF. Let me just scroll over here, click on the other one, and rotate that for you. Okay, so when you're looking at this, couple things that are important, because some plans are not very cool in what they do to you, and some brokers just don't even tell you this, and I don't like those brokers, but you're not talking to them, you're talking to me. Number one, you have to know what some of the copays are, but also you have to know how often you can get this vision exam done. Your plan is considered 12, 12, 12. That means you can use all of your services every year. Now, can you use them as of January 1? Now, this is the completely confusing part about vision. This is very proprietary, okay? Your vision plan will actually reset from the last time that you used it. So if you used it last September, your new glasses and all the stuff that you can do will be available to you as of September. That's just the way that it's always worked. It just, rotates from the last time that you've done it. And most good dental offices, vision offices, vision offices or optometrists will normally send you a postcard. Hey, come and see us. It's been a year, and that usually signifies, the time period where you're ready for, new items. All right. Your exam copay is $10, but then the insurance company pays the rest of that. So vision exams have kind of gone up in price over time. They're somewhere between $65, $70 to $90, just depending on what you're doing. You're only going to pay the first $10. So what does this mean to you? Just for the sake of argument, I know some pretty swanky places where you go in and it is the most awesome optometrist office, right? And you're thinking, oh, they're going to hit me for $150. If they are a VSP provider and you are in network, right, you're going to pay that $10, right? That's great. Go to the place that's comfortable. Go to the place that's safe, right? Go and do that and make sure that you get your vision exam. The rest is going to be, picked up because they're an in-network provider by VSP, right? They're going to cover the standard exam. Sometimes they want you to do some other things in the office. Those are going to be optional and they're going to charge you extra. But, the regular exam, that's going to be covered, all right? Now, that doesn't mean that you have to go and buy your frames from that particular place. You can do that elsewhere. So that's where we get to the materials copay. $25, all right, are going to cover your materials. And here's what's going to happen once you pay for that. So we're going to go down here. So you can see that after you pay the $10 copay, the eye exam's covered in full. Once you paid the first $25 of the materials, you're going to get single vision, bifocal, or trifocal, or lenticular lenses, and they're going to be covered in full. So you're good there, right? Now frames, they are going to give you $120 to spend, right? And they're going to give you a 20% discount above that. But what I would implore you to do is you've got your prescription before you commit to that one particular optometrist's office. Just check around a couple places, because I will tell you there are places that have deals on glasses, and you would be surprised at how far your money will go at some of these other places. So go ahead, get that checked out. Make sure you're getting the best deal. Now you can use your $120 for contact lenses, right? But it just may not go that far. It really just depends on the type of lenses that you need. So go ahead and evaluate that for yourself and decide whether you want to be in that plan for this year. You can also do a provider search for VSP through Guardian, no big deal, and find out if there's a provider. But normally you can usually ask the optometrist. They will tell you within 3 seconds. Look for the magic words. Let them tell you, yes, I am in network. That is what you are looking for. All right, so let's move on. Short-term disability. Do I have to pay for short-term disability? No, you do not. That is being provided by your employer, and this is an awesome benefit. You do not see any coverage here because I did not put any compensation in for this person, all right, for Chuck Zest. The rest of you do have compensation put in. If you are a new enrollee, let's make sure we do have your compensation because if it is not in there, it will not trigger an amount here and show you what you're eligible to receive. I will let you know there's been some advancements in short-term disability. In previous years, you might have only been eligible for 60%. but you are now eligible for 70%. So that extra amount is one of those things that your employer thought was super important to make sure that you're on par. And if you ever need it, you actually are eligible to get this extra coverage. Now, keep this in mind. Short-term disability provided by Guardian is different from short-term disability that you get from the state of California. Normally, when you go through the process of disability, you will go and apply to the state, right? And then at the same time, you will send something into Guardian, and Guardian's really there to make up any shortfalls, right? Because the state of California doesn't pay you everything. Unfortunately, there's just not enough money in the state system and the way that it is put together that if you are a high wage earner, you won't get enough out of it. So having this short-term disability is super important to completing and getting you as much of your paycheck back as possible while you're out on disability. So I think this is a key benefit. I will honestly tell you that there are employers out there that are not offering this benefit anymore because they just don't have the money to do it, but your employer is continuing to do that. That is an awesome benefit. All right, so you can't say no to that. That's actually something that you're automatically enrolled in. Now, something that you can say yes or no to is life insurance. Now, you have two different life insurance plans. This is super interesting what your employer has chosen to offer you. And this is not something that you can get everywhere. Now, everybody knows you can get regular life insurance, term life insurance almost anywhere. You might even have been approached by your friends that are getting started in the life insurance industry. But on a group basis, you seldom see life insurance policies being offered on a permanent basis. And what is so key about this is number one, you sign up for this, and guess what? You're 26 today, you are 26 forever. Man, I wish I could go back to being 26. When I thought that I was invincible, thought I could almost dunk the basketball. I can't dunk the basketball, but when I thought I could, and thought that I couldn't get hurt, right? So these are days when you're starting to realize, maybe I'm not a kid anymore, and investing in some of these products, life insurance, and some of these things, or when you're starting, you're out as a young family. These are when you want to start thinking about these products. The other thing about this, right, is that the permanent life, right, doesn't change in cost. So you're, like I said, you're 26 forever, right? But it also has cash value. So when you pull this up, this is really cool, right? Let me see. There's another spreadsheet, and for some reason it didn't come up right here. But what happens is when you see that other spreadsheet, it will show you that at age 65, let me see if it shows up here. I don't actually think it shows up on this particular thing, right? Oh, you know what? Yes, it does. Great. So what you see and what you're looking at here, right, is even with small amounts, right? And let's go down to the 26-year-old person, right? If you're a non-tobacco user, right, at age 65, yeah, you bought a $10,000 policy when you were 26 and you paid $7.30 for it, right? And guess what? At age 65, you have $4,687 in there. Well, what do you want to do with that? Yeah, well, you can keep your policy, right? Or you can get the cash out. So it's not like this money went nowhere. And of course, as these amounts go up, right, as you're talking about $50,000, right, and let's go scroll back down to the 26-year-old, obviously the cost went up, it's $29.20, but now, right, you have $15,930 in that policy by age 65. So this is one of those things where I'm telling you, you're really not going to lose, right? Because you have a product here that's both protecting you, right, and has cash value. It's not like term, it's not going to go away. Now, if you need to cover a large amount, right, the term is usually the better way to go because the term is going to get you the most amount of protection for the cheapest amount of money. But remember, those term rates can go up at a certain point in time because they have categories into where the term cost is going to go up. So I usually suggest kind of like a combo approach, get a little bit of whole life, get a little bit of term life, and then you'll be set. And I guarantee you along the way, one of these friends that initially started in the business selling, life insurance will finally figure out what they're doing in that business, and we'll be able to get you a good policy along the way. Then maybe we'll get you more of what you're looking for. But the biggest, craziest thing that ever happens is, oh my God, nobody signs up for this insurance when they're eligible for it, right? And then something goes wrong and your loved ones aren't able to get the benefit of this, decision, that you could have made. And it happens all the time because people get busy and they just don't focus on this stuff. So think about it. It's there for you. I'm totally cool with, in the future, you come back. If somebody sold you a policy that's, different and you need to get out of it, you talk to us at open enrollment and let us know that you've got another policy. No problem. You can be out of that policy. All right. And I'll get into the term life in a minute just so you can see how that's working. All right. Hospital indemnity. All right. You may not be thinking about this, or to be honest with you, maybe that's all you're thinking about right now, because with all of this COVID business, right, there are a lot of people that ended up in the hospital and you're wondering like, oh, if I end up in the hospital, how am I going to pay bills? What's going on? Well, maybe this Guardian plan is now more important than ever. So if you end up in the hospital or the ICU, you have a 1,000 plan or a 2,000 plan, guess what? You're on the 1,000 plan. What are they paying you? Ding, 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 ding. Pearson in the back, $1,000. You're on the 2,000 plan. They're going to pay you $2,000. So they're going to give you that benefit, once a year. And this is going to totally help you. You don't have to use it to pay hospital bills, and it's not going directly to the insurance company or the hospital. It's going directly to you. So if you sign up now, right, that's just one of those things that can help you and get you extra money. Maybe you need to make a car payment or a credit card payment or something like that. Or maybe there is just something that about the hospital bill that now you're like, shoot, now I can cover that, right? We can't predict these things that are going to happen to us. And believe you me, I hope that you don't end up in the hospital. I've heard some strange stories over my time, and stuff is weird out there. And it has nothing to do with the pandemic. I can just tell you that I've told stories to and said, hey, you could be out in the middle of the street and you know what? You could end up riding a skateboard down the street and you thought you were good on the skateboard because you had ridden a skateboard as a kid. You hit a parked car, you hit the ground, and you end up in the hospital. These things happen. All right. So choose what you want to do. Once again, you have the opportunity to be in this plan if you want to be in it for this year. So the last and final thing here is voluntary life. That's on the term basis. Right now, this policy is pure insurance protection, no cash value. That is why the cost, right, in this scenario, which is $75,000, right, the cost is so low. It's $6.30 per pay period. All right. So you can really get a lot of protection here very quickly. And that's one of the reasons why I said, if you sign up for this is something that's just coming out of your paycheck. That's it. You don't have to worry about sending in a premium payment to the insurance company because it's already coming out of your paycheck. That's one of the reasons why I think this works well. If you do need a large amount of life insurance, hey, this may not be the right policy for you, but this is very good for kind of small amounts and making sure that you have something, there to make sure that people are taken care of. Okay. Maybe it's a small mortgage on your house or your condo, different things like that. Super important. If you want some of the facts about life insurance, you're going to hear this thrown around. Most people in life, when they're making a serious life insurance purchase, need about 10 years, worth of protection from their income. That is what you would want to afford your significant other. So some of these smaller amounts are great for right now for small things. Maybe you need to cover the house or children's education. Maybe there's just some debt that you never got paid off and you don't want your significant other to get stuck with that. These are the ways that we think about life insurance. So you can think about that for yourself and realize if this is going to be important to you for this year. You see this star here. This star is indicating that there's a certain amount of insurance coverage that is guaranteed issue. If you are a newbie, this is your first time signing up for coverage, you don't have to answer any medical questions. If you're not a newbie and you are going through open enrollment, on the different life insurance policies, they are going to ask you some questions, okay? And that doesn't mean that they're going to deny you right away. Guardian is excellent at underwriting some of these policies, and they will usually get back to you between a week and a half to 2 weeks. Once you're done with our enrolling process, right? Usually we'll get notified, when the stuff goes over to Guardian. We will get you a link so you can fill out any medical questions that they ask you. And if you get approved, awesome, move on. You've got your coverage from that day forward. And if not, right, we can always do some investigation, see what's going on, see if there's some blood work that they need to track down. They rarely ask for blood work, but if they do, right, we'll be there to help you and support you along the way. All right, beneficiaries. You're going to need that if you sign up for the life insurance because we need to know who the money is going to. And if you are divorced and you've gotten remarried, you don't want it to go to the person that you were divorced to. You want it to go to the new person. So take care. I mean, if that's normally the way it's structured, but you can do it the way that you want to. So take care and make sure that your beneficiary has been updated for the year so that the insurance doesn't go to the wrong person. And it does happen all the time. And there is nothing that the insurance company can do to stop that because they have a record of the beneficiary, right? Of who that money is supposed to go to. When you get done with all of this, we have a summary that's in our system, right? It's going to show you the medical and everything else that you've applied for, and it's going to show you where you're at. That way you can make sure that you have configured this correctly. Once you are all done, you're going to go into, signing mode. And we changed things this year. It's going to look a little bit different. It looks a lot more like DocuSign. You're going to first type your name, then you're going to sign your name with your mouse, or if you're on your iPad, you're going to sign your name with your fingers. So make sure that your fingers are clean because nothing like a dirty signature. And then, right, once you're all done and you hit it, it's going to say that you're done. We get a copy of everything. We even get a copy of your enrollment form. And if we need to disconnect you from Kaiser and enroll you in Anthem, we have all the necessary stuff to do that and to move you from one plan to the other. So I'm almost out of breath. I talked to you for quite a while. I hope I didn't lose you. Maybe you listened to this before you were going to bed and I put you to sleep. But if you just woke up right now, right, I hope this helped you. I hope this got you through. But don't forget, you can always reach out to us by phone or email. Our telephone number is 818-883-3282. My email address is jrudnick@lafinservices.com. You've probably seen it before. You may have dreamed about it. Now, you probably haven't, but if you have, then you really have watched way too many of our webinars. So let me just go over it. It's jrudnick, like my name, at L as in Larry, A as in Apple, F as in Frank, I as in Insurance, N as in Nancy, services spelled out with an S.com. So definitely try and get to us because once open enrollment is closed, we won't be able to make any more changes or decisions. So I would love it if the insurance companies gave us more flexibility, but they will literally lock us out and not allow us to make any other changes for the year. So I don't want to be in that position or make you even end up in that position. So think about some of these different scenarios and just let us know what some of your questions are. Now, you will not be locked out of changes if in an alternative scenario you have a qualifying event, like you get married or you have a child. Those are different. But for everybody else who are just making their decisions for right now, that's it. They'll be locked in after open enrollment is finished. So with that, I would say have a good day, and reach out to us if you need to. We'll be here. Stay safe, and we hope to see you soon.